Good evening. I'd like to call to order the January 8th meeting of the Upper Darby Township Planning Commission. Just a note as we get started on your agendas, this is the January 8th meeting, not the December 8th meeting. Visually, I'll just do a visual roll call. We do have a quorum, and the only person apparently not present is Cassandra. She has not Zoomed in tonight. Next thing we need to do fairly quickly, it's first meeting of the year. So we need to go through a quick reorganization, which is to just determine who's going to be in what roles, president, secretary, and so on. Are there any nominations? Let's do it this way. Are there any nominations to change the positions? Would anyone like to offer themselves up or someone else up for a different position? I had a feeling it was going to be that way. So shall we just stay in the same positions? Okay. All in favor of me, Jeff, Steve, staying in positions that we previously were holding? Oh, yeah, there's a motion. Motion, second? All in favor? Okay. Minutes from last meeting, December 11th, you have those. That was when Delaware County Community College was here, and I think we talked a little bit on smoke shops. And we also went over the fact that we need to have our quorum count be in person, and that it's okay for Cassandra to continue to Zoom in, but she can't count the quorum. So any changes or additions to the minutes? Nope. Motion to approve? Second? All in favor? Okay, it's the minutes. We don't have any communications or bills to take care of, so we can get right into this month's review. We have people present to discuss a project that is on the corner of Garrett and Walnut Street. There's currently a lot there, and the proposal is to have a building on that lot and rearrange the way the lot is being used. So if you wouldn't mind coming up, introducing yourself, and presenting your plan.
Thank you. My name is Mike Robinson from Fox Rothschild. I'm representing the applicant tonight, A&W Development LLC. As was noted, the property is right down the street, 152 Garrett Road. The project is to basically build a warehouse, a shop building. Obviously, there's a bunch of other improvements that are going to go in along with that. For a bit of history, there was 2 zoning applications made, and then that went before the zoning board on appeal. First one was Appeal 2-7 of 23. It's for a number of variances, mainly dimensional, one for the use for the warehouse. That was approved by order and opinion dated April 6, 2023. Then we had to go back for one more variance related to the refuse. That was also granted by order and opinion dated July 26, 2023. So now the applicant is appearing for an Act 247 review. There's been a good deal of communication between the township and the applicant regarding waiver requests and other issues that have come up. With me, I have Bill Santora, who is one of the owners of the applicant, Jamie Santora, who is an agent of the applicant, and then CJ Bach, who is a consultant from Landcor. I'm going to welcome Mr. Bach up to present the plan, and he'll run you through it. Thanks. And the legal address is 160 Garrett Road. There's a bunch of title things here rolling around, and it's listed as 152 on certain documents. I think that's why the application said that, but 160 is the actual address.
Hi, CJ Bach, Landcor. I prepared the civil site plan as you see here. The plan is a proposal on subject property. There was some question as to the nature of the property, but it's been confirmed. It's a collection of 6 properties or lots that have been consolidated and have a single tax parcel number. As you can see on the plan, they're proposed a warehouse shop type building for the client on this property. Access is proposed on Walnut Street. And then while a little tougher to see on the right-hand side, it interconnects with the adjacent property and intends to utilize the driveway they have on Garrett Road in lieu of closing the property's current driveway on Garrett Road. The project also proposes for 6, 8, 9 parking spaces and a loading space as shown on the right-hand side plan view of the drawing. Also, in the lower right-hand corner are two large 40-yard dumpsters. That's in the applicant's business to collect, disposables, construction waste in those dumpsters for his various projects. They bring it all to one point, and then it's collected from there. The applicant certainly can expand a little bit more about the intended uses and application of the property, but this is what we've proposed. There are some areas striped out along the front, and those areas are in order to enable some traffic maneuvering into some doors that are proposed, roll-up doors along the plan view top of the building. Fencing is proposed all the way around with some manually open gates on either end of the property, right and left. This sheet doesn't show it, but there's another plan. I don't know if we're able to go forward, but there is a landscape plan proposed where we're looking to try to, there we go. So right now, we've tried to plant as many plants in, the available areas as possible. We're committed to revisiting the area in the lower right-hand corner where the trash is to beef up the screening there, to perhaps include an 8-foot fence and some evergreens. That large storm pipe there kind of throws a wrinkle in
I
some
can't
things.
understand some of what you're saying. I'm sorry, I have to slow down a little bit because I have no
Okay.
idea what some of the words you just said.
Okay, looking to plant some screening, some more trees in the lower right-hand corner. On this plan, you can see the trees that are proposed. There are none shown right now on this plan in the lower right-hand corner. And I was just commenting that we're committed, based on comments from the township engineer, to increase the landscaping in that area contrary to what this plan shows.
Well, why don't you say committed? I'd like to see what the actual plantings will be and how much they're going to cover.
Certainly. As I said, we still have to investigate what we can bring to bear there, because we do need to make a storm pipe connection through that area.
I have no idea what you just said.
Storm pipe, this,
It's very
oh,
hard.
is it? Not doing me justice? Talk louder?
I think it's both.
I can just talk. Well, I don't know if it needs to be in a record.
So what could you do it from here and back towards the?
I certainly can. I can do it wherever you'd like. Hello? Maybe? As I was talking about, some of the hardships we have with the landscaping in this area, which is where we got the trash enclosures proposed, the dumpsters. There's the storm pipe here. We can't plant over that storm pipe, but I think we can definitely beef up what's going on in here. And I've also talked to the township engineer about, we're proposing to remove all the pavement from the back of the existing sidewalk back. That includes an area of the right-of-way that we can plant in there, in cooperation with the township. We can, make our buffer even more robust. This plan conservatively just showed plantings on the property proper, but there'll be a green space extending from the back of sidewalk to the building face. So there's opportunities in here for additional plantings.
And how deep is that space?
I believe it's almost 10 feet. I think it's 4 feet to the property line and then 5 feet to the back of sidewalk. So I think it's 9 feet.
Who did these plans?
I prepared the plans.
Okay. And what does the storm pipe have to do with the plantings?
Well, certain trees I can't plant near storm pipes because the roots would try to attack the pipe and
Right.
try to get water from and could compromise the pipe and then in turn the stormwater system.
So you're just back the plantings up.
It's a best management practice to keep trees, a certain distance away from water, sewer, and storm pipes.
Right, so you just back the plantings up.
Yeah, I'll get them as close as I can in here. And like I said, I feel like we can really juice that up and we're committed to doing that.
So the next plans we see will have all those details?
Yes, they would.
Thank you.
So, quick question, so your existing building, this is gonna be an extension onto it, okay? It's gonna be an L-shaped? No.
This is a single shop building.
Single shop building, okay.
Separate parcels.
Same separate parcel, but it's the same people using. Sorry, if you want to speak, you gotta, on the record, you gotta put your name on the record. Yeah,
Sorry.
no, like here, hit the button on the microphone.
So basically, we own both parcels.
Okay.
We're in the one, we use the other one. We want to clean it up, make it a better place, just like our building is. If you saw in the back of our building, all those green trees are going to go straight across, except for over the pipe, as he explained. And there will be a fence with black slats, so they won't see it per se. One mistake, and when I say mistake, it's not a mistake. That's the number you use when you put dumpsters. We do not have any 40-yard dumpsters. We only have 30 yards. They're only 73 inches high. They're the two that are in the driveway, so they're not the 9-foot tall ones that I think we were worried about. And that's only because it says it on the plan. But that's not what we use. We own our dumpsters, so it's, once in a blue moon, might have 40-yarder, but that would not be a full-time thing. It would come and go like it does in any other place in the world. So we would just treat that whole thing, and if we would skip, let's say the pipe's here, we'd put one maybe over here because it won't grow, and the bushes will grow through it. You won't see it per se, but the sides of the bushes will grow through it.
I'll see it. I'll see it. So the 40-yard dumpsters, how often do you think they'll be there?
We haven't had a 40-yard dumpster in 20 years.
Well, you said they might be there occasionally.
Well, I can't tell you it's never going to be there, that's all I said. But we do not use 40-yard dumpsters. We own the dumpsters that are going to be on those pads, and they're in the yard now, you can go look at them.
So you're getting approved for 30-yard dumpsters or 40-yard dumpsters?
We got approved for dumpsters.
Okay. Because I think that it gets,
I'm just being honest with you, I could have just said 30 yards and 20.
being honest with you, I think if it's 30 yards, it's good. If it's 40 yards, it's too high.
It's not good, yeah, they're this tall, we can't even load them.
Yeah, so we should have it written in that they're not going to be there.
Well, you can write it in there, I don't care, but a
But
dumpster's allowed to show up at your house by law. I'm just being straight with you, that's all. We use a 30 and we use a
living
20.
here. I didn't realize you live here?
I
It's
do
your
live here.
house.
I do live here. I've lived here
House.
longer than you have.
It's a business. It's not a
No,
house.
I live around the corner, yes, yep.
Okay. You said like your house, but
But no, I could bring a dumpster to my house
your
once in a blue
your
moon.
dumpster example was very confusing, that's all.
I got you. So like I said, we use a 30 and a 20-yard dumpster. The 20's about this tall, the 30's 6 foot. I even took pictures.
No,
if you
I
wanna see
get it, I get it. I just didn't like the way you slid the
Yeah.
40 yards in.
Yep. So that's what our plan is, and then, like he shows, more trees in different spots, so.
So, Bill, another question. So right now, there's your office's parking lot, and there's a pretty large laydown area
Yes,
up Walnut Street.
Yeah.
That's yours?
Yes.
Now, okay. That goes away, or how are you gonna make that work?
yeah, that's what that whole thing is. That's that laydown area.
So the shop's gonna be the
Yeah.
laydown, okay.
Yeah, it's all gonna go, everything's gonna get cleaned up. The dumpster's gonna get parked nice and neatly. The different things will be parked in parking spots, not all over the yard. Most of the equipment's going inside, so yeah, it'll be very nice.
So could you just educate me for a second? So the proposed use, we're using the term warehouse shop. What exactly does that mean? Like what's being housed, what's,
So we're a construction company, so we have hand tools, all the tools for the guys. We have compressors, we have scaffolding, ladders, all that. And right now, a lot of it's outside, and we want to put it inside so it looks better for the neighborhood, and it looks better for us when you pull up to our beautiful new building. Our next door neighbor is just as beautiful.
and so it's basically for what your construction business is utilizing. You're not necessarily housing, it's not like space for rent or storage or something like that.
No,
for
it's,
other
we're
commercial.
all one company, yes.
Okay, so it's all for you. It won't be.
Yes.
Other.
So what happened was I bought that first, I remodeled it, then I remodeled it again 2 years ago. I bought this at an auction and across the street, which we sold, what we're selling, so they can put some nicer apartments in, and we were gonna move to here as long as it works, so.
So in terms of like, the part of the reason I'm asking is so I can understand, in terms of like vehicular or truck traffic for this particular structure, it will be essentially your business, not necessarily.
Yes, and
multiple-
we own a stake body, we own 2 stake bodies, we own a box truck and a pickup truck that, for that portion of the company. Now, we have trucks that don't come back, they all take them home. with them.
Right.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is not leaving your ecosystem. It won't be other companies utilizing your space for storage.
Oh, no,
and
no,
stuff
this
like
is,
that.
this is for a single source, and it's A&E Construction running it. And I own A&E Construction, I own the property next door, all as different companies.
Okay, thank you.
You own the entire block for all intents and purposes?
Yes, sir.
I believe it's right, Sampson to Walnut. Sampson Street to Walnut Street.
From, yep, and Garrett to Chilton.
So it's the whole block.
And the 3-story across the street, which is now the shop that will move.
Okay.
Yep.
Anybody have any further questions? Otherwise, we can move to Josh's comments.
The 9 parking spaces, how did the 9 parking spaces get accomplished? How many people will be working there?
So for the last 20 years, there's been 2 with the part-time guy coming in.
So 9's
And
plenty.
they actually, most of the time, park in our lot because the equipment and all that, so it's very little vehicular travel. Once in a while, we'll get a delivery that'll go into the shop because we can't leave it outside, and then it'll get put on one of our trucks and brought to the job site, especially if it's in the city. You have smaller alleys and things like that, we can bring the smaller trucks
No, you
down.
answered my question. Thank you.
Okay,
If I could, the 9 parking spaces are required 1 per 1,000 based on this use, so it was 8,800 total square feet. The building proposed is a 6,600 square foot footprint, and there's a portion of the back rear of the building that actually have a mezzanine. So collectively, 8,800 square feet proposed at 1 per 1,000, we're at 9 spaces.
Thank you.
Have all the zoning hurdles have been taken care of? Is
Yes,
something- Okay.
yes. And as noted before about the trash enclosures, 20, 30, 40-yard dumpsters, we're still usually dealing with the footprint here. And I don't believe the variance was specific. It was just in order to permit the trash to be a certain proximity to the property line. It wasn't specific to the size. But
I
we'll
mean,
talk-
Garrett Road doesn't look so great now,
Yeah.
so anything to make it look better is
Absolutely.
important.
Absolutely. If you could you go to the stormwater plan? I just want to highlight that we are bringing to bear stormwater infrastructure that doesn't exist now. I
I'm
think
sorry, I have
that's,
no- I
that's
can't
a
understand what you
good,
said. What did you
a
say?
good point. Stormwater management infrastructure. So if I could go back to this. So the entire site right now is impervious. There's no permeable surfaces on the property, well, albeit, pavements or marl or whatever. Nothing's really allowing any water to infiltrate. And now this site will propose some green space behind the building and along the side here, along Walnut Street. So while nominal, it decreased the impervious down into the 80s. Further, we're also 80% of the site covered.
So you meet the requirement.
We meet the requirements, but further, we also are proposing some attenuation of the stormwater volume. So, when it rains, a certain amount of water is just not going to be in the street, it's going to be here. So where nothing was there before, the site's actually proposing to attenuate and infiltrate a certain volume of stormwater that will definitely be a benefit to the neighborhood.
we good? All right, thank you. Josh, do you want to share your comments?
All right. So just going through my letter, and I think Mike and I will kind of chime in as we go over different sections. Is it helpful to do like a Google map view, or are we aware of the site and the surroundings? Okay, just to kind of get our, get a basis of what we're looking at and all right, so I'll get started. So essentially, right, this is that block that we were referencing. If you look up there, right, all the way to the east, you have Sampson Street, all the way to the west, you have Walnut Street, north Garrett Road, south Shelburne Road. That whole site is, right, owned by A&E Construction, and it's currently split into 2 parcels, A&E at 152, right, and then A&W at 160, correct? So you can kind of see the difference, right? There's an existing building, parking lot, then that's where, that parking lot line is where our plan starts, and see how it's kind of like that red asphalt underneath. That is the whole boundary of the plan. I'll zoom in a little bit. Does that all make sense? So, I mean, just to know, things that, other notable things in the area, right? It's right across from the Walnut Street trolley line. It's walkable to the downtown commercial district. There's a single-family attached residential neighborhood right behind it, between Sampson Street and Walnut Street. That's over here, primarily row homes. And then there is a possible apartment building next door that also receives zoning approval. So we're looking at a lot of big upgrades in this area. Yeah, so right here. So I believe this used to be your guys' property as well? It's still, okay, it still is. So the idea is, an applicant came in for zoning, and the idea is that that's going to be upgraded to, I think it's 27 apartments with commercial underneath. They haven't quite made it to land development here yet, but they did go through zoning.
It's the old Buick place. It's a Buick dealer for years.
So there is a sidewalk. So this is the site from Street View from a couple years ago, 2014. So you can see, right, as it was described, construction material, parking, things of that nature.
There are a lot of vehicles there. Where are those vehicles from?
Yes, so in the building right here, there was a mechanic and he had to give him a certain amount of parking spots.
Oh, okay.
He's gone now. He's been gone for 3 years, I think.
Yeah, I'd say, I guess it's been a while since Google's been down here, but it's mostly construction materials from what I've observed. All right, kind of moving through that, there's no notable hazards or really anything of significant interest, either floodplains, slope, historic structures. So we can kind of get right into right the meat of the zoning comments. So essentially, we went through and we looked for right zoning, things from the zoning ordinance, and then also regulations from the subdivision and land development ordinance. So all those comments are going to come from either of these two books. So we'll start with the zoning, and then we'll keep going through. My first comment is about the principal construction entrance, and I'm actually going to go back to the plans for this.
Excuse me, which one are you looking at? This letter?
No, I'm looking at we're going to start with my letter, and then we'll do Mike's letter. Starts with Upper Darby. So this letter is eventually going to be adopted, hopefully at the end of the meeting, and become the Planning Commission's letter with their edits and comments. So you'll have one from me, or one from them, one from Mike, and then that's what you would take to council, and one from the county, and that's what you'd take to council. So let me just. So right, first comment is about tying into the existing pedestrian street. Right now, there's no sidewalk connections. So we think there could probably be a pretty easy one done. Right, here's the front man door. If you guys follow my screen, you could probably tie something in over here, do something along those lines. That would be our recommendation. Second comment is there's no continuous internal pedestrian walkway on the site. And I think we'd recommend some sort of either concrete in front of the building or sidewalk in front of the building connecting the site, because it's not really great to have foot traffic traversing through the site if that's where cars are going to be moving through.
Sorry, could I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
I didn't realize, so, just so I can clarify, is the intention for part of the, to understand sort of the warehouse aspect of it, but because it's all, the warehousing is tied to your construction business and its affiliated businesses, is the intention for part of the building to have a public-facing aspect where someone comes, you get what I'm asking? I just want to make sure, because that doesn't
I don't
seem to be
believe so.
captured in the use. if
I don't
that's-
believe so.
Okay.
This building doesn't get visitors like that. If anybody comes, it's a truck driver delivering something.
Right, right.
Right.
I'm
And-
just mean,
And
future plans going forward, that's not, okay.
That's why we're building it for us,
Okay.
for the future.
right. And the only reason, right, I have it in because one, it's the requirement of the zoning code, right? Two, but we also want to think, right, deep in the future, right? Should you ever sell it? Should it ever become, I don't know, a tire repair shop or something? You have four nice space. They have to come in front of zoning. They wouldn't have to come in front of land development. This is the one shot to develop it.
All right, well, here's the problem with that. Can I just
Yeah, please.
explain it to you? I mean, we're willing to paint the stripes as we talked earlier. You said you didn't work on it. But along here, we're willing to paint the stripes along here. The problem is if you put a concrete, two different materials, weather changes, it starts moving, it starts getting beat up, we don't want it to look like it does now in 20 years either. We want it to look good. All right, so since we're not bringing pedestrians in here, it's not that kind of thing. And the other problem is the gate goes right here. I can't put a walkway where the gate is. I'm not gonna have enough room. It would be on the curve, it just doesn't work.
Well,
Yeah, it's a sliding.
I see it being a sliding gate, but is it possible to find another way to get a sidewalk into the site? Because it is a zoning comment, not just a waiver from land development, so,
The problem is I would have to put another door, which is another
well, I don't,
theory for crime, and that's where the problem is.
What-
We're trying to keep our stuff safe.
what if you had a gate off of Garrett Road, and then you had a walkway where the ADA stall is gonna get revised, because that was one of our comments, and then you would walk up the ADA area straight into the building. While you're not using it, you can just keep it locked, but in the future, in the event that, say, the use changes, or you want to bring customers to the site, then you have an option.
I don't know that that works for us. I will think it out, but, we're digging hard to keep ourselves here. I've told you this many times. We're digging hard to keep ourselves. This isn't big enough for us. So we're doing everything we can, but it just seems like, it just keeps changing and changing, and I just can't, I don't know that I can do that. So we need to talk about it because, number one, now I have another access for people to get into my property, another access for me to get sued because they do whatever they want to do on properties. I'm trying to keep it clean, neat, as asked for our neighbors, and our neighbors are super happy. Just so you know, they are super happy with our property right now. I've had the little lady from across the street come over and thank me for what we've done. People have pulled me over on the street, the whole 9 yards. But to do that, now you're talking about going straight across, it just doesn't work. There's really not a spot to do this.
Can you guys, what's the issue? We're not closing down the sidewalk or something.
No, he wants us to have a sidewalk that takes you from here to here.
It's not really my want. It's
it's in the
yeah,
code.
it's in the code.
But you can,
You know, walkway,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it needs a walkway.
A walkway.
pedestrian connect, okay.
Yeah,
What was on this site 50 years ago?
car dealership, no curbs, which I'll show you later on another problem I have. But it was a car dealership and it was falling down when I bought it. I took it down.
So what's our technical definition of walkway?
Well, through the grass, it would be a sidewalk, or
Be a separate concrete.
we prefer concrete, or it could be some type of paver, or it could be something like that. I think we're flexible as a commission as far as that goes.
Yeah, but then here we go again, now a paver that moves, and next thing you know, I have water underneath, lifting up my asphalt. I'm trying to keep this thing solid. We do have trucks going through here, which are very heavy.
Well, try to help here.
Yeah.
So, if you do get pedestrian traffic, mailman, UPS guy, where are they going to enter? Your offices are back here.
Right here. There's a man door, right? Yeah, right here, that's the
Okay.
man door.
So how are they gonna get there from?
They park their truck right here and they walk in, just like they do it at my other office. There's a sidewalk 4 feet at my other office. If you want a little something at the front door, like I have over there, that's fine. But they drive right up to the front door. And UPS doesn't come here, it comes to our building. Remember, across the street, we have 0 parking, all right? Everything's done on the sidewalk. So if we stay over there, now the UPS driver, like I said, he doesn't, but if he did go there, which he doesn't, he goes to our main shop, he pulls right up on the sidewalk to do things.
Well, that's not good.
Well, there's nowhere else to go. That's the problem, you know, when you build these cities, you know, like, this will be the only building in 10 to 15 blocks that you're asking for a setback in the front. Setback, I mean, every building is built on the sidewalk. Every single one. And that's one of the things that zoning worked with us on, which we all worked together to make it work, was so we could have parking up front, because, you know, you don't want the building on the sidewalk anymore, so.
Well, just because they did it that way doesn't mean it's nice. Because this is better, pushing it
Well,
back.
it is, but you know what, it really, it takes away from the views, the whole 9 yards, if you look at it that way, but I understand what you're saying, and I had no problem moving it back here. Not an issue, I'm just letting you know, it's the only building that will be in 20 blocks. This was built as a town, not as a suburban, you know what I mean? This area here was all, you know, built when people lived here and shopped here and did everything here all the time. So, yeah, so like I said, I just don't know how to fix that without, you know, I mean, if you want me to paint stripes across, I would do that, that's not a problem. But to actually do it, I do not want to, that, because it's just going to get ruined so quickly with trucks and things like that.
I think we heard the response, but I think we still got some more comments to get there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Then my next section, I go to 550E2B. The refuse area shall be shielded from direct view. Wasn't clear what the height was, but I think you said 6 feet for the refuse containers?
We'll go to 8 feet.
With the plans and stuff?
Well, we're gonna do an 8-foot, I thought we were, believe we're.
In the back, you mean?
Yes, in the back.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you meant, yeah.
No, the
You
refuse.
can do an 8-foot fence there if you want, with the plants in front of them, instead of a 6-foot, but I think the zoning, I mean,
You didn't, yeah, you didn't get zoning for 8-foot fence though, right?
no, we did not. But the
would
plantings
be
are
another-
above 6 foot already, the ones that are here on my property that we're gonna extend, and I took a picture of that too with me next to it, and they're up about yay high, so it will cover that 1 inch.
Because you're going to revise, you said the landscaping plan.
We're gonna include additional evergreen screens, and the minimum planting on those will be 8 feet.
If you can, yeah, I mean, that was the only thing.
And the height is 73 inches of the dumpster.
And then let me-
Not 1
the-
inch over.
I understand. The plans that we saw, right, didn't have that. So say you put this landscaping in,
Yes.
next iteration, that makes up the difference between the fence.
Yes,
Yes.
Problem
no
solved.
problem at all.
Again, we had utilities in there at the time, and I wasn't sure about the ability to let the landscaping go straddle the property line there.
Yeah, with the revised landscaping, I think this would be satisfied.
And then a note stating that the dumpsters are going to be 30 cubic yard max.
Not a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, just because this is,
I brought that sheet that you asked for, somebody asked for, and unfortunately, as you know, going back and forth at the end. Here's the sheet that you have, for the size of the dumpster, and it's literally 73 inches. It's supposed to be 6 foot, you know.
30 yards, 73. Yeah, because
Alright.
40 is 95.
No, yeah, exactly. Well, that's why I wanted to make sure you guys knew I don't use that.
Um,
We can't load it.
yeah, no, I think that would satisfy this comment. Again, that is one of the residential sides, so we always want to be a little bit more particular when we get to our residential neighbors. The lighting plan, I don't know, is that included here? Did you already reduce this?
Yeah, that is the lighting plan.
Okay, so my only comment was just to keep trying to reduce the foot candles to not stretch over the property line. Is this reduced or is this the same?
That would be the same one we submitted.
Okay,
and
so
you reviewed.
especially for the residential sides, which could be the apartments and the neighbors behind Shelbourne, make sure those foot candles are ending at the property line.
CJ, if I may ask, when you did your calculation, did you factor in the fence as well?
I would have to investigate that. I'm certainly gonna make sure we are, and,
Yeah.
and because of the slats they want
But-
to use in the fence.
I think what you would need to do is move that, worst case, you got to move that light up about 5 feet. I
We're,
think that
yeah,
would
we're
get you out
committed
of
to,
the.
yeah, we're committed to, revise the photometrics and the lighting to,
Yeah, and I think because we're gonna later talk
Mitigate
about possibly
light
moving that
spillage.
whole, right, that whole loading area up. So that might also solve it as well. But we can get to that. So glare from the lights, the next zoning comment is access onto Walnut and therefore Garrett Road. This, while I reference a zoning section, this could also be, I don't know if this should hold anything up, it's considered a existing nonconformity. So there is a curb cut that is existing. I don't know if you guys can see the dashed lines along here. So that is all one large existing curb cut going down to here. So my comment is essentially, with this so close to the intersection of Garrett and Walnut Street, how difficult will it be for a truck to turn out of here and to go left onto Walnut? And I thought that the location warranted some discussion, and then Mike and I were also tossing around the idea of possibly just having it be a one-way, getting an easement, and then exiting through the adjacent property where there's a little bit more room and less chance of an accident.
I believe there is a truck turn for the anticipated construction vehicle, an SU-30 we use to yep, I believe so. Should be a sheet in there.
Does Justice or Mike, will they have to go through the whole HOP process with PennDOT for this or not?
There will, for any sidewalk improvements that affect the intersection, they will. We did recommend that they update the signal permit plan with the
Okay.
driveway location, with the orientation that they have, so there would be some form of an HOP.
Okay.
And I should have my thing on.
So if we do the sidewalks, we have to do an HOP?
Depending on the extent of the sidewalk, if you're just repairing sidewalk, it's obviously maintenance, but I think in this case, if you're updating the signal permit plan, updating handicap ramps, you definitely need to get an HOP for that.
Well, we weren't planning on, why would we update handicap ramps on that corner? It's already there, it's already placed. We're not touching anything here right now. Later we will, we'll fix it up and make it really nice and new, and then we'll go there. But for the time being, we don't have to do anything here. Basically, we already have our, like you explained, we already have our curb cut here, all right? When we talked earlier, we had a curb cut here, all right? And we discussed not putting it there, so we didn't have to go in front of HOP, and we moved it over to here for that, all right? This is, I can't make it work, and let me explain why. Can you make this a little smaller, please, whoever's? I need to get down right here, that's good. So, I have a truck come in to get these dumpsters. Well, they can get in this way, they can go like this, back in here. Now, how are they gonna get out of here? They're not. They're gonna be stuck all the way to here already. They're not gonna be able to do it. They have to go this way somehow, some way. So I can't give that up. It's already curb cutted, it's already been permitted, it's part of the property.
It is curb cut, but I will say there is a fence that pushes it down, right?
All I did was put a fence up, that's perfect.
No, I understand that. I just, it would be,
Perfectly legal to put a fence up in front of your driveway if you want.
I'm not arguing that. All I'm saying is that it would be, it's not what's happening right now you're not actively using your trucks that way, right? This would be a change from your day-to-day operations, because your trucks are entering lower on Walnut.
Yeah, could I ask why don't we have turn radiuses for that ingress and egress? Can we add that to this line?
Well, we will, yes. That was
think I'm
one of our
grandfathered in.
comments.
So, I would say I'm definitely grandfathered in.
If-
Curb cut is still there,
If I could,
Grandfathered into what?
to having my entrance right where it is. It's already there.
Yeah, I'm not,
Yeah.
no one's trying to throw a poison pill in the plan. We're just, and even in my comment, I say that it's an existing nonconformity that warrants discussion. And that's what we're here to do. Yeah.
I'm just, I'm just giving you my theory of how we designed, it took a lot to design this to work for us. And part of it is to have dumpsters over here out of the way.
I think the issue is if you're leaving the site, going toward Walnut, car, truck, whatever, and you want to make a left turn on the Garrett, you physically cannot make that right turn and sit at the stop lane. So you have to go essentially, basically on an angle out to make your left turn. What could you do to get that to be acceptable turning? Does it go one way, the other way? So you're further away from that stop bar? So you can maybe make that right turn and then make a left turn?
You mean here? I don't understand your question. I'm sorry.
I think he's saying, you're leaving your property, you want to go to Garrett Road.
Make a turn here.
Yeah, but that's the movement that he's worried about, that you're not gonna be able to get out into the lane, right? Get out into
Well,
the lane.
to make that hard right, a truck could be difficult.
You said,
but-
right, you mean,
And to make the hard right, but also to make the left, the left, you have to go straight on an angle.
But remember, these dumpsters can get picked up maybe once a month, once every 6 weeks. So you're talking a truck coming here. He can come like this and work his way around. He's not gonna be hurting anybody. It's not like oncoming traffic, that kind of stuff. Or he can make a left turn. Same thing with the UPS truck. Those guys probably will turn around and go back out here, but like I said, we don't get UPS to this side of the thing. It goes over there.
What I'm saying is, it sounds like you don't need the in movement, it sounds like you just need the out movement, correct?
I need both. I do need both, just in case.
If I could, one of the variances actually did cover this on, the corner properties, driveways should be located minimum 60 feet from center line of intersecting streets. So he did actually already secure relief for this driveway.
Talking about utilizing it as an ingress and egress.
That's, as a general definition of the driveway, what I get, just like the size of the dumpster wasn't
We're not
specified.
disputing,
No one's
we're not
arguing it.
disputing on the variance.
I think we're all in agreement that we have a general right to access this driveway. I think you're talking about facilitating the access of it in a way that's
Correct.
pragmatic.
And we'll certainly provide for, turning movements in and out of these driveways. I was just throwing that out there because I'd see.
So the
Would
only
we-
issue is you're not gonna be able to turn through the gate for loading. That's the one issue, right? You wouldn't be able to go,
Correct. That's the biggest concern.
could the gate get bigger?
As you're leaving left, you mean? Like no radius?
No, if you were to come out and go right.
Oh, on the right.
My driveway on this side will not be supported properly because it's made for car traffic and light truck, meaning UPS trucks, things like that, not for heavy trucks that'll be coming on the property. Here to get these dumpsters and once in a while to be dropping off different equipment and things like that, because we don't like to do it on the street. This will all be new, all be supported properly, the whole 9 yards will be thicker.
I'm confused. The plan you're looking at shows driveways off of Garrett Road, but that's not,
Right here. That's on this property though, but we gave, so
yes, okay.
like I told you, it's two different properties, two different ownership, which that's what they're worried about. When we're gone, what happens? So, and I understand it.
Right.
I'm just telling you what I need for what I need, of course. And I don't want big trucks coming in here, ruining this portion of my driveway, turning wheels, do all that. And some of them are gonna have to back up.
It would be a one-way.
So-
Right, like
Did you say, so are the trucks going to come in through the residential up Walnut? How are they coming into the site
It's
now?
not residential, this is
Yeah.
commercial.
Well, how are the trucks coming into the site? If, on your proposed design, how are the trucks coming into the site?
The dumpster trucks and what do you call it, would come in here.
They would have to come around because that's a one,
it's a
well,
one-way.
we're not,
No, it's not right. It's a two-way street.
yeah, you're right.
Look,
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
it's two-way, yeah.
two this way, one that way.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And everything's commercial from here forward. It's not, and actually, this is a thorough for, as we know, it goes through all the way down to, where the,
Yeah, 69.
Yeah, almost to 69. What's that?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Should we go? Okay. The last comment we have for zoning is parking spaces for individuals with physical disabilities should be open on one side to allow for room. In this case, that handicap open space is shared with the truck backup. Okay, hold on. Ooh, ooh, ooh. So we don't recommend that. The open side of the handicap space is shared with the truck
Share
backup
with the
area.
loaders.
If the trucks coming out of the building go like this and go like that, or go like this and go like that, it's going into where the handicapped guy might be getting out of the truck. And you know, my best friend's handicapped. I understand why you have it. I don't understand, and even he doesn't understand why they have it in circumstances like this, but. What do you mean by circumstances like this?
Yeah, that's a good statement.
No, meaning that when this is gonna be empty for 99% of, you're talking a truck backing out and leaving is not gonna interfere with a guy getting out of his car. He would wait till he got out of his car, closed his door. He's not just gonna back up, you know, it's just like anywhere. It's even if you don't have that, somebody could turn in and hit the guy because he's not paying attention. You gotta be paying attention.
I think he's also saying, talking about non-public facing facility, you know, it's not, there's not going to be a stream of different,
Yeah, if this
you know,
is retail,
patrons or
it's
people.
I think there's room though to fit a small loading zone separate from that. So it's not
Yeah,
a
I
barrier.
believe- I
You don't
believe
want a
we could
barrier to
find-
access.
Do you
Yeah.
mind if I ask too? So I actually was under the impression that the main door for people would be on the other side. Is it actually on this side that you referenced earlier?
On this side.
Okay, so we probably should have it
Just
over
make
there
it over
anyway.
there.
And it actually looks like you have the 5 foot on that other side.
Yeah,
about.
so I
Yeah.
would maybe,
Do that. Just move it
maybe
over.
Yeah.
flip it over.
If that's the
And delineate the striping and show it as a different stripe, like a blue
Different,
stripe instead of a
little
white. Yeah.
Tighter gore.
Yeah, you want it to be it's got to be the closest entrance to the building.
Well, there's
Yeah.
an entrance here too, so you do it.
Well, yeah, you could be, well, the closest to the main entrance of the building, I would say.
That's the thing, it's just a shop. I mean, it's got
Yeah.
built doors at either end. I mean, there is no main entrance. It's two
Yeah.
doors going to a warehouse.
We're good. We're good. We're good. We're good. We're good. Thank you.
Yeah.
When I can, I'm gonna work with you.
All right, so that's,
Make it work for me.
Mike, do you have any other zoning comments that I didn't cover that can get covered in your letter?
We talked about buffering, and then we also talked about just the setback of the fence. You got to push it back another half a foot, which is pretty minor.
The fence on the front property line.
Front
it
property
needs-
line.
Needs to be offset and brought into the property another half a foot.
So the ordinance requires that the fence be set back from the property line 1 foot. You're a half a foot from the property line, so we just have to offset it half a
Another
foot.
But aren't I grandfathered in already with the fence that's there? Been there for 100 years.
Is that a new fence you're putting in? That's a new fence, yeah.
Replacing the fence with
exactly.
ornamental. And then also. my
All right, you want to
fence-
grant-
my
all right,
fence
that's
go
fine.
right in the property
That's
line
fine.
too, if we could do it. It would just look better than
I,
having a fence.
I could
go
add a
back
note to match the
and forth.
existing fence in kind, location in kind or something.
Okay.
So we'll just make a note that the location is per the existing condition or something.
Wait, so the fence is not gonna be set back? What are you saying?
He's saying the existing fence right now is only a half a foot and he'd like to repurpose and, you know, really just replace it exactly where it sits. And because it's already existing, it technically should be permitted.
We would probably consider it grandfathered in,
And it would match.
an
the
existing
fence
nonconformity.
next to the Property next to it, it'd be one straight fence instead of this much of a jog. All that's gonna do is collect
You
trash.
can move the other one, you can move the other one back to match, make that further back.
But
Could, but, you know,
I'm not gonna go there because it was.
could, but you could, you know.
There may be posts he can recycle, you know, and, you know, why would, it'd really be unfortunate to have to move all the posts to half a foot if
I can
they're,
understand what you're saying.
the posts, the fence posts. If we
They've
can,
been there
if
for-
we can
for 100
repurpose the
years.
foundation for them.
I think they're moving, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could consider that existing nonconformity and move on.
Okay.
I don't see an issue. So if no more zoning comments, let's flip over to the Saudo comments. And actually, Saudo, yeah. So Saudo is subdivision and land development ordinance. Sorry, yeah, no, we all love talking in acronyms and things that no one else, Yeah, it just means subdivision and land development. So whenever you're doing a land development, our book actually comes from the county, so we have it automatically adopted because we don't have our own.
Right.
So if, Mike, if you think it makes sense, if I could actually run through all the Sado comments, and then maybe we talk about the waivers, because that's where we're gonna get kind of bogged down.
Yep.
We'll just kind of fly through that way. Is that good with you guys?
Yes, sure, please.
All right, as always, right, whenever we're doing a preliminary final, right, make sure you submit as a preliminary final, add that to your waiver and add it to the plan. Next comment, there was no mention of the 2018 comprehensive plan and the track. Technically, it has it as parking, future land uses parking. It's not really relevant. I'm sure we all rather see this, but it's asked for it, so I made sure to make that a comment, make sure it makes it onto the plan for the next version. Copy of the deed needs to be sent to us along with any covenants and restrictions. I don't believe we've received the deed yet. Oh, perfect. Yep, just from us?
It's okay. It was in one of the emails that you guys sent me.
All right. Yeah, I'll just let you know. All right. Location of permanent reference monuments and corner markers. The site plan doesn't show any found pins or markers. Height of all structures should be shown on the plan. Current height is shown as less than 35 feet. We'd also like a floor plan elevation as part of the submission, so we have a better idea of what it looks like. Right. This question, right, I think we've solved, but markers should be set at locations, if it is a consolidation. And if it wasn't previously consolidated, it should be, but I believe you guys found that it was previously consolidated. So we probably can strike that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll update the plans to include the APN for this parcel.
Perfect. That'd be perfect, just for future reference. All right. So we're recommending 2 more waivers. When a land development fronts on an existing street, having a right-of-way less than the minimum width required, the right-of-way should be established and dedicated. Walnut and Shelburne are local roads. No right-of-way shown for Walnut, so that has to be changed to 60. And then we're recommending that you ask for a waiver for Garrett and Shelburne Road because you don't have the room to dedicate. It isn't there. It doesn't make sense, but we want to make sure we're tightening everything up. So if that hasn't been added, I would recommend adding that to the waiver request. Right, access maintenance easements and agreements must be provided for the shared portion of the driveway with record plan. Right, make sure that there's an easement for this gate going over to A&E. Right, if you do for whatever reason end up going with a one-way, make sure there's an access easement going through the other property. The curb dimensions, right? The existing curb along Walnut Street should be replaced in all areas not occupied by the new driveway. The current site plan shows it just being left as existing. If the curb's not being used, it should be filled in to avoid any type of tripping hazard. Do you have the utility plan on this one?
I think so. If not, the landscape plan, I think.
Oh, yeah,
shows you.
that's perfect right here. So this just says minimum distance of 10 feet should be maintained between water and sewer lines. You're currently at 6 feet. If you could just space them out, make them 10. No, we're still waiting on a colored rendering of the preliminary landscape plan. It should be submitted to the municipality. On the plan, it looks like there's one waiver section that was mislabeled as 817E2 and it should be 817E1. I think there's two 817E2s.
Okay.
So just make that quick correction. Then there should be 3 evergreen or deciduous shrubs planted for every 20 feet of building perimeter. There appears to be less shrubs than required. So we'll need to make sure that number gets up, but I think we're gonna have a larger landscaping comment or conversation in a second. And then,
Can you repeat what you just said? I couldn't understand what you said.
yeah, there should be 3 evergreen and/or deciduous shrubs planted for every 20 feet of building perimeter. There appears to be less on the landscaping plan than that. And the last one is the electric utility line should be placed underground. And then I think Mike and I talked about this, and if that's too difficult, then that's something you should request a waiver from.
It's really at the discretion of the utility provider, PECO. You know, they'll usually make the call, I think, for that.
Well, I think in this case too, your waiver would probably be more justified in this kind of case because your building is so close to the property line. There's no sense in putting a telephone pole
Exactly,
and then
yeah.
going underground. That would just be a
road.
detriment, yeah.
And low.
So that
usage,
waiver
too.
makes sense.
Yeah, we would definitely support that. So I have a list of waivers. Mike, I don't know how it's different from the other list of waivers.
I think.
Or do you have any other Saldo comments before we kick off?
So with the list of waivers that we have, I think CJ prepared a waiver request letter before the meeting, and they're only asking for about 5 waivers. So CJ, do you want to go through those waivers?
Yeah,
And
I'm
it sounds like
happy to.
everything else will be a will comply?
I believe so, yes. To
Okay.
the extent that landscaping anywhere I can't do it, we can we can pay a fee in lieu of if we are limited in the ability to actually locate certain required landscaping. But pending that, you know, we certainly will comply on
So
doing that.
just to explain, in the past, what the township accepted in cases where there just wasn't enough room to fit the landscaping on the site or on a location, the township would accept the fee in lieu of. You take the fee, you go put the plantings in a park or another location to supplement that landscape.
Well, I don't like that plan here. It's a bad plan. There should be all the plantings needed. And the park's not gonna help Garrett Road.
No, but there's limitations on the ability to plant based on the urban district that it is. I mean, there's a lot of pavement and utilities, and as noted before, the site has no green space now, and we've brought to bear a considerable amount, but it's still limited. There's only so much you could plant. And the requirements for plantings are robust. There's requirements for the building, the building walls,
We like robust
property
plantings.
lines. Well, that's not always practical for the site, in which case we need some other manner to satisfy the requirements. And that's when we would pay a fee a little.
With what we're doing.
Yeah, well, jam as much as you can jam in
Roadway
there.
will be totally covered with a lot of.
I'm just saying, I don't like planting in a park instead of on the property. I wouldn't vote
No-
for that.
Nobody does, but we also need them to live.
Well, then
we need
don't
them-
do it.
We need the plants to thrive. I mean, you can only
Okay,
put in
plant
so many
plants, all right.
trees. Yeah. So back to the waivers we are requesting, though. Right now, we have, that we are requesting a waiver to permit a 1.8-inch diameter orifice. The minimum required is 3. This is out of the stormwater system, so the ability for the water to leave the basin. The ordinance requires a hole 3 inches, and we need to do something that's a little smaller in order to really maximize the ability to recharge the water as well as mitigate for peak rates. Not great infiltration rates in this area, but, so we just needed to be able to kind of hold it a little longer. So we've asked for relief from that, to permit a smaller orifice. The other requirements we've asked for relief include, as noted, they request a preliminary final concurrent approval. Number 3, we are looking for the relief as suggested to commit additional right-of-way along both Shelbourne and Walnut.
So I think this is where our copies deviate here.
Okay.
Because you guys have a plan, I think, with the waiver request. And you just sent us a letter, right?
I did update it, yes.
Okay, actually, let me put that on the screen, and I think that will. just so we're all looking at the same thing. And then we also made comments, with our recommendations on the waivers, but we can go over that maybe at the end.
Okay.
So this is in order of what you're doing, correct?
Yep, yep, you're with me. I'm on the second page.
I'll bring it in.
You can see the top there with 3-inch orifice to permit 1.8.
Is that a big deal? Is that a big deal, changing it?
What's that?
Going to the different size pipe? I don't know anything about that.
No.
Okay, and then this is the new comment, right, the right of way.
Yes. Add that.
But when they originally submitted the waiver request letter, there were more waivers requested than what is on the new waiver request letter. So this letter is definitely reduced amount of waivers they're requesting for the project. I think also to note is that any landscaping waivers where they can't practically plant on the site, they'd be asking for consideration of a fee in lieu of. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
What I'm saying is, if you start with a blank lot,
Yeah.
you could put as much plantings in as were required. So you chose to ignore the planting requirements and went with the plan ignoring them. I mean, it's a blank lot, right?
It's a parking lot.
Yeah. So you could make the plantings work that are required.
How short are we here?
I think what we should do is let's get through these waivers and then let's go through the landscape and see what works and what doesn't work and what you can comply with and what you think you can't comply with.
Sure.
I think that'd be great. Plus, I haven't actually seen this
Yeah.
yet, so I'm not really sure what's on here. So if we could just kind of go through each
Okay.
one and then we'll dive deeper. Or
Sure. Number 4, we're asking for relief to permit some radii inside the parking lot to be less than 5 foot. Just trying to maximize the maneuverability of the vehicles. And to try to minimize those gaps in the area. We end up with radiuses that are smaller than 5. Plus, there's actually a small radius where we tie in to the existing property to the right with this pretty small radius. And number 5.
And just to add, that waiver's been granted numerous times in the past, that 5-foot radius waiver.
And number 5 is just to permit the electric service to potentially be overhead. As we discussed, it's likely that's how the PICO would go, but we're really kind of at their mercy as to how they want to service the building. And those would be the waivers. Again, the landscaping ones have been removed based on the ability to either we'll do what we can to meet them and/or pay a fee in lieu of for whatever's not feasible.
Mike, shouldn't that still be a waiver request though, to pay a fee in lieu of?
You-
Let's look at the
That's
landscape
why I had
plan.
included it actually originally, but whatever you want to do.
Let's
here.
look at the landscape plan, and then let's see what we're meeting, what we're not meeting, how many plantings we're putting in. Let's do a deeper dive in that, and then we can,
All right, and did that include, I know there was a couple places in here that I recommended requesting a waiver.
I think I got them.
If you got them, all right,
I believe so.
then we'll,
I don't know if I caught your, I think you had something with the E, some of the section number maybe was wrong. I'll have to look
well,
at
that's fine, that's,
a
yeah,
little closer.
that's fine. Well, that was one of the landscaping comments.
Okay.
So we're still considering, we're not disregarding the waiver request that was here based on what we just saw on there, because this is where the landscape ones are listed out.
I'd recommend,
We're reviewing this one.
I'd recommend that are some added ones
So what we just.
to
went
what
through.
is already in the review.
Okay.
Just so you have them all out there. We
Absolutely.
can say that we all discussed them and made a recommendation one way or another.
To the extent that what a waiver request that was listed here was what we just went through, I assume the staff comments to that request is the same at this point. Like if it's a,
Yeah,
okay,
my comments would be the same. I think anything I mean, most of it is, right, there's a lot of, right, some of the new ones on there, I don't have comments for, because it
Right,
was
I
sent
meant to the
today.
extent that, of the ones we have before.
Yeah, I don't
the new
think, I don't
one
think
is-
any of the comments would change.
Okay.
So let me just pull up the landscape plan real quick. Um, this one? Yeah. All right, back on the landscaping plan. And has this landscaping plan been changed at all since our review? In there, I think it's,
It's sheet 5.
yeah, I don't have the plans in front of me.
I believe it's either sheet 5.
Might be in my paper.
So.
I use it digital. So, do you guys just want to go through line for line of the previously
please.
requested, or?
Well, I think they're trying to understand where we're short and what may need to be done in order to comply.
Right.
Yeah, I think that would probably be
So,
most
Should,
expeditious.
we also have so you guys took out the curbing thing completely, right?
We did, we're committed to providing
Committing to the
curbing
curb?
across the entire front. I believe we'll have to look into
One
doing,
thing that we did want to ask request possible is where this island is, because of trucks and the different things, that we just take that curb straight across. Make that just gardening, without a curb, just that one little piece.
The northern section of the site?
Curb will be straight across, but this one little island right here,
Oh, okay.
I'd rather not have a curb because it's gonna get beat up. It's gonna get hit by the trucks. It's gonna, I'd rather not do that. I'll still maintain the gardening like I do next door, but I just don't think the curb would be a good idea. Because what it's gonna do is slowly take out this curb, which is what you really want for the pedestrians walking and all that stuff, so.
CJ, can you delineate where the curb, or delineate where the curb would be, like where you're planning on putting it throughout the plan? Okay. He's got it, okay.
Just skip right across that.
There, okay.
And then right here.
Oh, it's one continuous curb along the whole frontage. Again, we need to do some curb breaks. We can't really change the grades back there. We need to allow for, the flow of stormwater as it does in that area. But to just skip across that
We
island,
didn't really talk about stormwater yet.
We didn't get in, no, we're going through landscape. We'll talk
All right,
about
we'll stormwater after then, so maybe. I guess that's true, but if you're not gonna be landscaping that one, I mean, how much is at our discretion?
You're not landscaping what section?
No, not landscape, not curbing one section.
It's just the curb, yeah. I would landscape this, because I want it landscaped. And this will all get landscaped, as you see all around here. All this is landscaped. And then for some reason, it stopped here, wasn't supposed to, but to follow through all the way, just like the rest of the building.
I think for the sake of the meeting, we should call that a partial waiver. Yeah.
Everyone
Just
all
to
right
be
with that?
safe, yeah.
Partial waiver per
Yeah.
the revised plans that you're gonna give, or per staff comments?
Yeah, it'd be a partial waiver.
How
All right.
wide is the tree path? What do we call that? Your garden?
The island,
that
I'll
island,
tell you, it's
it's about 6 feet
approximately
wide.
8 feet, because the parking spot's 9.
About 6 feet.
No, that's facing Garrett Road. How
Yeah,
deep
there's
is
an
that?
This one here?
I thought there were trees all along Garrett Road.
No, there's
There aren't. So the first, I guess maybe you guys can explain
Yeah.
just so, all right, so we're done with the curbing, partial waiver to our, to the township satisfaction. Right, next one is 817C requiring street trees, right? You originally asked for it. Now, this would be, why can't you put the street trees? Or if you can, where would they go?
Well, as noted before, the entire frontage along Garrett Road is all concrete sidewalk to the property line. We're proposing to remove the concrete from the property line to the front of our parking, but there's also a lot of utilities in there. You can see a valve here, and there are utilities that run all up and down the front of this property. So there's no opportunity to put any street trees up. The street trees take as a sizable root ball, they get massive. We're talking 30, 50-foot trees. And there's just not adequate room in there to put them. But maybe we could do shrubs, we could do some more plantings in there. I mean,
Could,
it looks
could you
like-
do any on the actual like sidewalk of Garrett Road?
What's that?
Could you do any on the actual sidewalk of Garrett Road?
Like tree pits, kind of?
Like tree
Like a
pits?
tree pit, yeah, on
Like
Garrett
along our
Road.
streetscape?
I would defer to the client on how much streetscaping there.
So
So, wait, how many, what's the requirement?
I did a quick calculation. Based on the ordinance, the site would require 8 total street trees. That's including all 3 frontages. So you would need 3 street trees on Garrett, 2 on Walnut, 3 on Shelburne.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right, these trees?
Yep.
Those street trees or those in your,
Those are,
those are on your property, right?
Oh, I got you, yeah. Well, but they're right up next to the sidewalk.
There's also trees that are needed for the building.
Northern bayberry, they're actually not all the 3 the same. The 3 bottom ones are northern bayberries and then 3 above ones are.
No offense, but have you walked that sidewalk recently and seen the meters down, I mean, you're looking for a disaster here.
Arrowwood,
It's,
viburnum.
Deciduous, I've heard.
Yes, they're both deciduous trees.
Mike, on the Garrett Road side, you said 8, but that's all around. What would simply be?
3,
3 on Garrett.
yes.
which we could put 1 in here. We can put
Well-
1 here, so we can get 2 of them in for you.
We have a monument sign there. I don't know if that would be.
So the way the requirement reads, is that you have to be 5 foot from, let me read this out. It has to be 5 foot from the right-of-way line unless it conflicts with pedestrian movements. And essentially, if you have utilities that could restrict it, then you would have to change the location.
Wait a minute, you can say 5 feet from right-of-way line, 5 feet into the right-of-way.
Yes.
It
that's
can't
a
be
street
5
tree.
feet further.
Okay.
But it can vary at the discretion is kind of how I would interpret it.
I mean, I think we'd prefer the tree pits or anything on Garrett Road, right?
So they would be right at the curb.
That would be essentially at the curb line, yes.
This would mean popping up a sidewalk and.
Popping a tree. And
Right, you
I
have
would,
to- you have to
you know,
work with the
and
township.
CJ, I know you mentioned 50-foot trees, but there are also certain types of species that don't grow to
Yep,
50 feet. There's
absolutely,
smaller
absolutely.
species, 20-foot
Yep.
high street trees, narrow street trees.
Have you driven around and seen how many places do that? And you have
Upper Darby just did it out front of the building, yeah.
Yeah, but metal grates now all over the place because the trees don't make it or the sidewalks pop up and
That's not all of them. Some of
What's
them
the,
make it. some
what
of them
size
don't.
caliber is required?
But not when you're in.
2.5 inch to start.
Into
It's
the
going to
height-
grow
height
over
or-
time.
What's an area like?
Is there a height
what's that
requirement
mean?
or?
What's that?
What's an area?
Not for
like-
deciduous.
Deciduous, they just keep
Hold
growing,
on,
they'll
let's-
grow,
let's
some
have one
have different heights, they
conversation
grow
at a
like
time.
20
First
feet.
plant.
When they first plant, about 6 feet,
Okay.
yeah, typically, 5 to 6 feet.
These green rules were there for a reason. We just can't say, oh, it doesn't fit for us, so we're not doing it.
I totally understand.
Okay.
All right.
We gotta
And,
find
but
a-
there is in lieu of, you pay so they can use it somewhere else.
If you had a blank lot to start with, you could have done whatever you wanted.
I can leave it.
There's also parking.
Okay, I understand.
I don't want to do that.
Right, but I think now what we're talking about is street trees, which are not inside his fence. This is in the public.
Nothing to do with my.
Right, this is not the blank lot side. This is out at the street and the curb and popping up sidewalks, and that's where
It's an improvement to the right of way.
that's what we're talking about.
Yeah,
So within the fence, I think we're good.
Is that correct? Within the fence, they're good with the
Within the
landscape?
fence, we're good?
Well, so there's a parking lot requirement that requires one tree for 5 spaces, and it's actually 3-inch caliper. I misspoke. So one space per, 1 tree per 5 spaces, which would mean two trees for the parking lot, which obviously you're not going to fit them in that parking area. You'd have to put them on the side of the building or something like
I
that.
think we have the calculations right up at the
Yeah.
landscape compliance chart. Should be at the top of page 5 as well. Do you guys see that up top right corner?
Those are all the categories for the various required trees.
And when you did your calculation per 30 foot of street length, it's
Yeah.
actually 60 because it's 30 per side.
Okay,
So that's why you had.
I
more.
understand.
Yeah,
I was wondering why you were off the.
Yeah,
why
yeah,
I was
yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, wait a minute.
it's 60, yeah.
Mine's 15.
It's 30 feet of length per side of the street.
Yeah.
That's how we've done it on other developments and stay consistent.
Unless you want to put 15.
Yeah, you could put.
Put 15 if you want.
Yeah, you could put.
You want to keep going, Mike?
We're paying for more. Is that
You
it?
done, or?
I think we need to, I think they were to, there's various landscape, I would say, waivers that they want to apply for a fee in lieu of with. And I will say in the past, just to be blunt, is council has not looked kindly upon waivers from the tree, landscaping requirements.
Right.
In the event that you're going to the maximum extent practical, and then you do a fee in lieu of, I've seen them approve that in the past. That's just based on past experience.
And remember, all this,
We're talking about doing. When it comes to the street trees, right now, we're talking about, right now, there's nothing, right? So the variance is, you said the requirement for all sides was 8 trees in total, but for Garrett Road, it was 3. I think a gentleman was starting to say, I think maybe we can do 2 on that side, and then we kind of got derailed from that point of view. So I don't know where we left that, but as far as I know, right now, there's nothing, right?
I think we can get the 2 trees for the parking lot, no problem.
What-
I think you said we would need 2.
I mean, the total
Yes.
plan proposes 12 trees. And it looks, I think, if I'm doing my math here, it looks like the cumulative requirement of all of these things is 12 trees. So, maybe the waiver is really about where I have them because I can't get them in the front of Garrett, but the street trees are proposed elsewhere.
Well, I'll have to somewhat disagree about getting them in the front of Garrett because I feel like you can, depending on, obviously, we don't have enough utility information, but if there's no utilities there, you could cut out a block and put a small scale street tree
In the
along.
sidewalk.
Yes.
Okay.
ideally, we're gonna, that's the goal for the whole township, is to get more street trees.
Right, I mean, that's my whole thing. You had a blank lot to start with, so you should have known that.
The blank lot we're dealing
This
with,
isn't,
outside of the lot we're talking.
I understand that part, but even inside the lot, where you said they're still short, right?
Wait, guys, hold on a second. So, Mike, you have a long review letter. Is this the biggest hangup? Is the street trees?
I think this, yeah, I think a lot of my comments in the review letter, I spoke to CJ about them. They're more or less minor things that they can address, notes, provide an as-built note. There's some stormwater comments. When we get the stormwater,
On stormwater.
Josh, they are asking for a waiver for that 1.8-inch orifice, which I, based on what they provided, based on reviewing their calculations, I think that's acceptable in this case. What we did recommend is looking at ways to pre-treat the runoff coming off the site, other than just sheet flowing right over the sidewalk. We did talk about, in stormwater, we talked about an easement. We talked about, you got to have a blank easement on the site for review of the stormwater management. Loading ratio of the basin, list that in the report. Pretty minor items, a couple discrepancies in the calcs. They were fairly minor. I think they can address them fairly easy. Did you have any questions about the stormwater, CJ, that you want to go over?
No, I was satisfied, and I think we can comply with everything in the stormwater comments.
Okay. Are you going to do anything to help to catch that water and
Well,
potentially
now that we're
route
going
it?
to be putting that curb up there, I was going to have to look at the grading and see if,
Yeah, 'cause
If
it goes
routing-
towards the corner now.
yeah, if routing more of it back to the basin. I mean, I have
If
to
we
explore
did, here's a good,
options.
the positive thing that could happen. If you routed that water back to the basin, maybe by adding that additional runoff to the basin, you can upsize that orifice, maybe it eliminates that waiver. I have no issue
Yeah, sure.
recommending granting that waiver, but, we just
Yeah, I
got to
don't know
make
the
sure.
impact, but that was going
Yeah.
to be one of the first things I checked was,
Yep.
well, how do we do it this way?
Yep,
I don't know how amenable you are to the sheet flow over the green space, as a filter strip. I don't know if that's working. It is a very flat site. Like the grades are very, very flat, so you would expect for a long, kind of TC through that zone. But we're committed to working with you to a solution.
okay.
The
And
basin
then-
had to get, add another pipe into it to get maybe a little bit extra I needed.
Yep,
We
and
can
I
figure that
think,
out.
I think that's a big positive impact. Stormwater, especially in this area of town and where it drains to, has a huge positive impact, which we wouldn't see before because the site was completely asphalt. I think what we're really down to now are landscape, and I think just making sure that we adequately address the truck turning movements into and out of the site. I think that's where we're at, because looking at the traffic memo that Al Federico put together, those comments, kind of echo what Josh and I talked about earlier. I think those turning movements can be worked through. I think they can provide proper justification, but, we just need to come down with some kind of solution this evening to see how we can address that. I think you had a question.
Well, I don't have a question. I'm willing to also, to help the street tree problem, it's not on street, but it's on my property, but next door, I'll put a tree right in here for you, if you'll accept that. That's on the existing lot, which would be one. Like we said, two here, which would cover two of the three that you need for Garrett Road. And then we can move some of these out if you want to. Or add a tree or two here to equal the tree problem.
Can I ask you the concern with putting the tree up against, like, say you put a tree pit up against a curb line, what is your major setback on that? Garrett Road?
The major thing is,
Yeah.
water gets underneath your
water.
sidewalks, they start lifting, you have tripping, you have people trying to walk. I'm a big walker, I used the elf all half my life, I refuse to walk that street line. It's a safety issue where we are. You got a major road coming through where people that we don't even know where they're coming from. They could be coming from Philadelphia, they can be coming from Springfield, anywhere, coming down this road. Now you got a lady and her kid walking along, the trees are hiding it. It's a safety issue. I don't like it. And in this situation, it's just not where you want it, where they can, it's a major safety issue in this case. Here, it's not, because this place is lit up. You got the big open area, but down there, it tightens up pretty good.
Mike, if I could, I think there might be a water main in there too, running along the front of the property. There's some
Okay.
valves that seem to be evidence of a water.
Utility box right there.
Right there, right there, where you just valve.
Yeah, no.
I'm just thinking outside the box. Can you pull up the street view of Garrett Road?
There's a water main.
Yeah, it's Pulp Street.
How about some big elevated planter boxes?
It's gonna be from 2014, but I can do it.
Hold on, I got
But now you have another place for trash to build up and all that. We're trying to eliminate the trash in this area. It's so hard with Scepter's train tracks full of trash and flows all over our properties.
All right, you have swing around to the SEPTA tracks side.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want me to?
Is there, well, so there's a station right there.
Yeah.
What I was thinking, there's some areas where it's between the Garrett Road and the tracks.
Can you go to the intersection?
It's nothing really, just, that
The
area.
good thing is, and I
Just
understand
thinking
what
of
you're
a place
saying,
to
what you
put
have out here, there's other places you're gonna do that. So you could use that money
What?
that we give you to do it in other places that it works properly, where it's open.
Would
and
PennDOT
empty.
allow it? I mean, they allowed it for us.
Yeah,
This is
they
like
allow
a
it.
city
Yeah.
right here, as you know.
They're on
That's what it was
they're on
built
board.
for.
Just have to agree to maintain it.
Not to be a rural area. See, we can't even plant trees over here. It's all
Right.
stone and.
All right, so what was your plan again to come up with the requirement sounds like it's eight
So there'll be a
trees.
street tree here.
Okay.
In the corner where it's
Yeah.
still open a little bit, and we'll put one right here, but we don't have a earlier one, but where the gate goes in, I have a big, right here.
Okay.
Right here, I have a big island here, it all has rose bushes, it's beautiful, I'd rather not, because it's gonna take the sun away from the rose bushes, and when you drive by here all summer long, we have sprinkler system in here, we have everything in here, I mean, we care about our properties. And, you know, it's gonna end up killing my rose bushes here, but you'll get your street tree that you're looking for, but it'll be behind the fence, so people won't be trapped, and that's what I'm worried about.
But it's an ornamental fence now.
That's an old photo. I
This
think.
is from
Yeah.
2012.
Old, yeah.
2012.
No, he's got a beautiful ornamental fence up there.
So
I mean,
the other, I mean, there's
just-
the deciduous trees per 100 feet of building perimeter,
Right.
right? We also recommend a fee in lieu of planting or, right, planting somewhere else. And then requiring high flower evergreen trees to be planted per 100 feet of building perimeter. We said would not recommend unless there's significant hardship, or would recommend these placed towards the back and side of the property. I think those are our final comments.
As I
For the
said, in
waivers.
discussion with the township engineer, you know, there's some space between, you know, the rear property line and ultimately what would be the back of sidewalk there. And you, street view.
I will say I'd rather see trees in that area, not shrubs out in the right of way. Yeah, there'll be trees. Yeah, yeah. But just that, can we go back to the street view one more time? I just want to look at that real quick. I just want to show that. If
Orange
we
shrubs
look,
and trees together, the best plan, both of them?
well, if we look at let's get that up.
Working on it.
So if you're looking at the actual streetscape there and the walkway, you'll see that you have light fixtures, signal poles, you have parking meters
Parking meters are gone, I think.
that are going, but at one time there were parking. Yeah, parking meters, and then it lends itself to the fact that you kind of have that, people shouldn't typically walk there. You have a driveway entrance that isn't really walkable because it's, you know, on an angle, it's a driveway. The ADA section is about 5 foot back. So it does lend itself to have a street tree. I just, that's how I kind of look at it. You have the, you know, not that I wouldn't say that I don't find electrical lights sitting on water mains. I do find that sometimes.
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously, all that lighting's going away.
Well, I'm talking about to the left. Josh, if you just look to the left a little bit, that light pole right there, that's right at the right-of-way line.
What's the developer of the Buick dealer? Has he come in yet with a plan?
That's going to be a comment on them as well.
There, you're not gonna get street trees, I'll tell you right now. 9 inches down is the high tension wire all the way through that property. We changed the sidewalk
Okay.
10 times because we can't even put stone for the frost, so you're gonna have to figure something out for that.
Yeah.
It's just impossible.
So this is our only chance.
What's that?
Go, CJ, you were going on with the plan. Yeah, yeah.
Just the Shelbourne frontage, and how I think it'll afford us, if we can plant over the property line, or on the property line, I think I could get in some trees, back in through there, perhaps, you know, several of them.
You're gonna should go back to the plan, Josh.
Yeah, go back to plan.
Again, for the green spaces we are bringing to bear, I mean, this is one of the big ones. And, I just thought I was restricted to keep it in the property, but if you guys will let me plant a little bit more out there, I think we could do more.
It'd be the,
Back in here.
it would be the recommendation of staff, right, that we do all we can to beautify the street.
Because right now, I was trying to keep everything between the dark line and the building, which didn't give me a lot of room. But we're opening up 5 feet of green space on the other side of the property line here, right in here. So now, if I'll plant this whole thing, you know, we'll vary the plantings, but I think, you know, deciduous, you know, you're going one for your street trees, certainly we can get some of them in there. But more importantly, I think with the evergreens, you know, when we're talking about screening, evergreens are really what you want, you know, for year-round kind of, you know, dense, you know, screening. So I can get probably a double stack in there in spots and kind of cluster and move some stuff around. But definitely get more creative in there.
All right, and there's actually one more. Are you guys still asking for the waiver for the loading areas to be screened a minimum of 8 feet in height, or is that gone?
No, we're
because
gonna
of trees?
fix that with the screening of the plantings.
Okay, so that is.
We shouldn't need that.
Okay, so that will be removed then. If that's number, I believe, 5 of the waiver requests on my review. So I'll just make a note to remove that. I guess, Mike, do you have anything else in your review? Any comments?
The
or
only
anything
thing I
else?
would mention is obviously the sidewalk where the depressed curbs are, that came up in the traffic comments. You have a lot of depressed curbs, old driveways on the PennDOT road. I understand you said you want to redo the sidewalk. Why not just do it now while you're out there?
3 months, or they're gone, which means I'm not building. That's why I can't build. In 3 months, if I don't have a very good thought that I'm going through, this is over. And it stays the way it is because they're not buying that. That's where the money's coming from to pay for this.
Okay, do you, well, I can understand that comment, and you want to be able to build your building while you're going through, build your project while you're going through a process with an HOP or whatever. I mean, I think we've, if it's a timing issue, I think we want to see the sidewalks upgraded, we want to see it beautified. I think there's ways to work that out from a timing standpoint.
Do it last.
Yeah, we've done that before.
Do it last, yeah.
Well, I'm gonna ask.
Yeah.
It's possible. I gotta see what I have to spend on this thing already. I'm not, I'm not made of outrageous money. You've seen what I've done with every building in this township that I've done. I made them all beautiful. State Road, when I did it, everybody else did it on State, Beatty Lumber did it, State Road did it, the body shop. I do it right? And now it's time to do this one, and I don't have unlimited money, so I plan on doing it, but I don't plan on doing it tomorrow. Right? It's gonna happen in the near future, but I don't want it to be part of this land development. I'm not touching it, so I don't, I understand what you want, but maybe we'll figure it out some other way, I know you have facade easements, you have this, that. I just don't have the money to do it all at the same time.
But the curbs, you're not including the curbs. This is just,
Curbs on Walnut
curbs
Street,
you can
I'm
do.
redoing. I told you
Okay.
already, I'm redoing Walnut Street. Shelbourne is fine, we already did that, we did in front of my office already, and our next one would be down there, but I'm not saying I'm doing it. You're talking $60,000, $70,000. I'm building a garage here. It's gonna cost me $300,000 before I even start. It's insane, and that's just for approvals and things like that. It's insane.
What are you talking about, Mike? What's,
I'm talking about along the frontage on Garrett Road. When you drive down Garrett Road, if you go back to the, if you go to the,
okay. What, you're asking for the curb and sidewalk to be replaced, or?
well, all the depressed curbs, yeah, if you go to the street view.
okay.
You said a garage. There's no plumbing in this building?
So there's
bathroom.
those depressed curbs, there's,
There's plumbing?
There's
I
one,
have to put a bathroom in
one
there,
bathroom.
but normally I would, it's a garage.
There's
One-
plumbing.
People use toilets everywhere, right?
What's that?
People use toilets everywhere.
Mike, what was your comment?
the depressed curb along the frontage, there's depressed curbs there.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
The old, yeah, there's
Yeah.
some here, right, like I said before,
it's kind of,
there's an existing on Walnut Street.
well, he said he's doing Walnut, you're doing Walnut.
Yeah, he's gonna do all this, make that
Okay.
all, fix that up so nobody.
But you want to defer, so you're asking a deferral of Garrett.
There is not bad when you walk it. Walnut Street's bad.
You're asking a deferral to do Garrett, is what you're asking.
Yes. Not as part of this land development, because I'm not touching it.
Again, this is, I'm a little confused, I guess, to do all of the concrete or just the curbs?
Well, once you touch a curb, if,
You touch the curb.
You're doing both.
you gotta do the
Not-
sidewalk, yeah. So once you touch a curb on Garrett, you're doing all of it.
Sidewalk's gonna be down low.
So you're saying leave the 2
I'm not saying leave anything. I said recommendation was to eliminate those depressed curbs along the sidewalk. I think what the applicant's asking is for a deferral to a later date.
For the depressed curbs.
To upgrade the sidewalk on Garrett with the,
Or-
because once you touch,
sidewalk in general.
once you touch the depressed curb and you bring the reveal up, all the curb and sidewalk obviously would fall in line and you'd have to meet the grades, you'd have to meet the proper pitches, and it would all end up getting replaced at that location. That's what they're asking.
Mike, some of it what's the overlap with the Garrett Road modernization?
Well, there is a Garrett Road modernization project that is underway. We haven't hit this section yet. But there are proposed improvements at these intersections that if the owner were to do improvements now, and we came in and followed the Garrett Road modernization plan, then we would end up taking out improvements that were put in.
Right. Is that project moving, or is it beyond the study?
It's not, no. The project is moving. We do have, the township does have funding for it. It's just not down to, it stops around actually not Shelbourne, Bywood. It stops over at Bywood. It goes from Lansdowne to Bywood. But there's another phase that once we get the first phase done, then I'm sure the township would want to keep going.
So at that point, that whole section's going to get done anyway.
Theoretically, down the line, it would get done anyway. And that's why I put that comment in there that if we do have him redo we need the sidewalk at a minimum. At a minimum, you need the sidewalk passable. You should eliminate the depressed curbs because they are, they should be eliminated. There's no more driveways there. You want to have reveal on your curb. However, that could get replaced in the future if there were a grant that we went for or something like that. But
How's the deferral work that you alluded to?
they would have to defer improvements. We would request that they would post some kind of security and at least apply for the permits in the meantime. That would be what the recommendation would be.
If there's an opportunity for grants in the future, because this has been going on for a while, and I know that Representative Curry and Senator Kearney have been pushing it as well. I think there's an opportunity that the state is going to help fund this. It'd be nice to be able to take part in that and to push it in advance so that that doesn't have to be part of it. When we are putting a lot of money and a lot of time to try to improve this area, it doesn't seem fair. It's going to go right next door, but not on our property because we're doing the right thing. It's just, I think, and I've been talking with Representative Curry about this, the street improvements, and I know that's a big thing for her, not just on Garrett Road, but other areas in her district. And I just really believe that if they continue to push that, it's going to happen sooner than later. And I know Governor Shapiro supports it. So I really think there's an opportunity here for all of us to benefit. The community and the township, all, with state dollars.
So then wouldn't the process, I wasn't familiar with the process you just outlined with for the deferred part of that. Could that still happen and that portion of the street still be eligible for, like, if it happens in a certain amount of time? Are they
I think-
mutually exclusive, I guess is my question.
If I go back to what the code says, we'll look at the code. It talks about sidewalks, pathways, crosswalks, and bicycle lanes. Section pertains to ensuring sidewalks, ADA routes are up to current codes in the right-of-way. Township of Upper Darby adopted the Garrett Road modernization. This is my comment in June 2018, where specific pedestrian improvements were proposed as part of the project. Our office is recommending curb, sidewalk, and ADA accessible ramps be brought up to current codes on the property frontage. However, additional coordination is required to determine how to propose sidewalk improvements would line up with the Garrett Road modernization. So what I'm trying to say there is, if you have them just come in and say we did replace the curb and sidewalk along Garrett Road, there's a chance it could come in and get modified in the future.
Right.
And I think what they're asking for is that the ferrule, in some form, I don't know what that looks like though, you know? But we do want to have safe, passable, ADA accessible sidewalks. That's why we say, bring the sidewalk reveals up, bring them up to code, make them, you know, ADA compliant, 2% cross slope, detectable warning surfaces at the curb ramps, stuff like that. Technically, when, you know, for example, when you're doing Walnut Street, there are requirements when you do so much of a sidewalk that you would make the ramp compliant. So there needs to be something in writing, I think, to protect the handicap ramps.
It is compliant.
But to current code, ADA, you know, current ADA curb ramp. So there have to be something written down, I think, in an agreement.
Well, I'm not doing anything to the left.
Yeah.
Right down. I'm not doing anything to the left of the driveway we're putting in, and I'm only doing things to the right. So I'm not even touching that corner. Why would I have to come here and deal with that? I don't understand what you're saying. There's a code that says I have to deal with it if I do something down the street? I don't think so. This is all staying the same. Remember, that cut is about right here. I'm not touching any of this. I don't not have to do that. I'm sorry.
I think you have to make sure the sidewalk along Garrett Road, you know, damaged, broken, chipped. You know, that sidewalk
So
is,
you want me to spend, you know what?
I'm just saying the Garrett Road sidewalk.
Have a
Yeah.
good day, thank you. I think.
No, Jamie.
I think I'm gonna be pulling my,
No, I just want to,
no, you're pushing me, and you know what you're doing? You're fixing up, excuse me, guys, I'm sorry, but you're fixing up people that don't do anything other side first, and leaving down here who people are trying to make better for Upper Darby, and put it all on us. That's
Jamie,
not fair.
Jamie, real quick, it's not my final say. It's up, it really isn't my final say.
It's not fair. We spend the money, and we fix things up, and we're the ones that you want to just keep pushing. I can't do it, it's a garage. I don't have the money. You know, we made that area beautiful, and I want to make the rest of it beautiful. This is what I want to do. I don't want to move my shop. I can move it, but I don't want to. So I'm willing to spend money on certain things, but everything, more trees, more this, more that, it's not fair. It's not the area. That's not what that code is for. The code is for new development. This is, yes, it's new development in an old neighborhood. There's no room. I don't know why you think that I would have to replace that handicap ramp on the corner. I should not have to touch it if I'm not touching it.
How much would it cost to do that ramp?
About $7,000 more on top of everything else I have to do. It's a lot of money.
It is, but aren't you in the construction business?
Yeah, it's still $7,000.
All right, what do you need from us?
Yeah,
tonight?
where are,
Like, you're getting.
All right, yeah,
We
let's
can-
go through.
Recommendation with these
Yeah.
things.
We should just go through the waivers, and then why don't we see what waivers you need? And then what, CJ, do you want to put together the request for waivers, what you're asking for, or have your attorney do it, and then the board can,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yes, and I think
Yeah.
it's a collection of what I've submitted, and we're going to bring back a few, like landscaping to look for the fee in lieu of
So
what I can't.
why don't
meet.
I just run through waiver number 1, 1.8-inch orifice, where 3-inch diameter is required. This is on your November 29th, 2023 letter. Waiver number 2, 804D, vertical curbing, you're going to ask for a partial waiver of that. You're going to provide curb and sidewalk along the frontage, along the back of the front of the property line, and then, but not that one little landscape island.
Right.
Number 3 is requiring loading areas be screened 8 foot high. I think that one went away, correct? Because the
We're gonna
dumpster's
juice-
That's
we're gonna
only
juice up
73
our
inches.
corner with the
Uh,
landscape.
To omit proposed street trees when street trees are required, due to location of existing utilities and proximity to street intersections. This is your comment, there's no available room for a site to plant those trees. So what you're asking for from that section is to provide the street trees, but provide them not on Garrett Road, but at different locations on the site. So you're asking for a partial waiver on the location. number 6, to omit deciduous trees when deciduous trees are required per linear foot of building perimeter. I think you're asking to plant to the maximum extent that you can. Anything else is just a fee in lieu of.
We'll get them. No, I think we
Okay.
can get them in there.
And then there's 817E2, to omit proposed flowering and evergreen trees when flowering evergreen trees are required per linear foot of building perimeter. Are you able to meet that, or is that something?
So, no, I
Okay,
think I'll be able to meet all the quantity issues. I
Okay.
think the issue will be predominantly location. And so with some flexibility of where we can plant them on the site, I think we can get them all on.
So you don't think you need a waiver from 817E1 and 817E2?
To the extent that those are, and I'm sorry.
I think it's E2 and E3, but either way, we can work
Is
that.
there an issue where they're going to be located?
That's what you're going to ask. That's the
That'll be
partial
the
waiver.
we're looking for.
Yes.
But I feel like I can achieve the number.
Okay, and then you're also going to provide the 2 trees for the parking stalls? You can meet that?
Yes,
Okay.
I'll be able to plant them.
All
as
right.
well.
And then finally, the last bit of waivers is section 300-I, preliminary and final land development to occur simultaneously. You're going to ask for a waiver that they're completed at the same time. 803.B4, to omit the required right-of-way dedication in Walnut Street when the road right-of-way dedication is required. So we're basically going to ask for a waiver from that roadway dedication. And due to site constraints, the block where the buildings are up against the property lines already, giving that right of way up really doesn't make sense because most of the buildings are up to the property line already. So you'd have one building out of all the other buildings on this block with a little bit of right of way dedication. 5-foot radius, section 806C.7, permitted radius of curvature of 5 feet. 821.A is for the electric service going underground. Obviously, if they put a utility pole, that would be more of a detriment because the building's so close to the property line. And then finally, there's some recommendations in the engineering letter. I believe what they're proposing to do, and correct me if I'm wrong, they already did the sidewalk on Shelbourne, they're going to do the sidewalk along Walnut Street. They want to defer the sidewalk along Garrett Road to a later date in order to get their building constructed. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is there anything else you're asking for a waiver from?
No, sir.
There you go, sums it up.
What was that for that last one you just said?
That was a recommendation in the engineering letter. It's from section, in the ordinance, it would be section 807, sidewalks, pathways, crosswalks, and bicycle lanes.
So outside of your, your comments, Mike, as far as like what the planning commission needs to do tonight.
Yes.
Is, right, you have to, right, add any additional comments, amend this letter, because this letter comes from you. It's my draft, but it's your letter. Amend it to however you would like it to be, right? And then recommend approval or revision for the plan, and then recommend approval per each waiver or some other, maybe alternative, partial, whatever it is. So those are the decisions you'll have to make tonight.
Okay.
I have just a question, I'm just curious. How bad is the sidewalk on Garrett Road now? They could just take, don't they polish them down or sand them down or something to make it, is that illegal or is that acceptable?
That would be done with the building permit anyway. They would do it UNO and do it, yeah.
I like the sand, I think it looks cool when they polish them down. I think it looks cool.
I don't have,
I like it.
I have no issues with the waiver request. They sound reasonable.
I agree.
Okay.
Sorry, I need to clarify. This is one motion for each waiver, or do we have to go through each waiver?
No,
You can do them all.
If there's no disagreements, and are you going the waivers as they're written or as we've discussed them?
I think it would be, that's what
So
I'm
that-
asking.
that- I would
because
say
there were
as long as-
changes.
If you're gonna do as we've discussed for all of them and no one disagrees, then I'd say do them as one. If someone does disagree, then you should do them individually for clarity. But otherwise, I'd say a motion
Right,
as we've
You
discussed them.
disagree with the,
specific one.
Specific waiver, right? If,
oh, okay.
right, if,
Or the
right, say
motion.
Jeff says, no, I don't think, right, they should have this one, then I'd recommend splitting them all up. just so that we have clarity on what you're recommending approval for and what you're not recommending approval for as far as the waivers go.
And we handle that the same way for partial waivers? Because one of them we changed to partial, which was the curbing, vertical curbing on all parking areas. We went from, we discussed, the comments recommending deny, but we talked about doing that as a partial waiver. We can still do that the same way.
Right, so it would just be as discussed
As
here,
discussed.
not necessarily what's on the recommendation. So kind of that last maybe 2 minutes of Mike kind of going through. I don't know, is your mic on?
Yes, it was. It
Okay.
was on at that time.
Then hopefully, I'll be on you, Courtney.
All right, before we move to that, I just need to, technically, there's no members of the public, but if there were, we would have to open up for public comment. There are, seeing no public present, there will be no public comment.
Prove it.
But see, you're comfortable that you can work for,
I've worked with Mike for many years on many projects here in Upper Darby, and I'm confident that we can get to an end that everybody will be satisfied with.
all right, cool.
If I'll just add, there's one more thing, the 30 cubic yard dumpster that Jim brought up in the beginning. That was the
Yeah,
only-
30
yeah.
yard. I'll change the note on the plan.
You have a comment real quick?
Can I just
That's-
make
yeah.
a few closing statements?
Sure.
I feel like I need to do something. Listen, you saw a lot of emotion there. That's not the emotion of somebody who's not getting what they want. It's some emotion of somebody who wants to stay here and make this a better place. There, as he said, and he's true, he's right, there are more lucrative opportunities to move that business out of Upper Darby. He doesn't want to do that. He's been here the whole time. Drive around this place, look at the buildings that they have done. Look at how much better they look, and how much better it does for the community. Look at the things that they just do for the community in general. These waivers are reasonable. They're because it's impractical to implement a lot of them. And as you can see, there's been a ton of work, a ton of money, a ton of time that's gone into trying to get a plan that's just as close as possible to satisfying all these requirements. We're asking for a few waivers so that we can do that. We want to make that space look good. We want to put those apartments in across the way, add some more housing. Housing is a big issue across the country. It's a big issue here. All this is part of a plan to make this place better and to keep a business here and to make sure this community continues to improve and to thrive. That's what the requests are here. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you. I can entertain a motion.
So I'll make the motion for the waivers as commented on tonight,
As discussed,
as discussed.
all waivers to be, recommend approval of all waivers as discussed tonight is the motion. Is there a second?
We didn't discuss approving all of
They discussed,
They, des-
Right, I know, but recommend approval as discussed. That would mean there were some that they discussed not approving.
we are recommending the land development plan with the waivers as discussed this
I
evening.
would split it up, that would, I'd split into two. You could do the land development and then do the this is just for the waivers.
Okay.
Steve, are you saying there's some that we recommend, like, not approving?
Yeah, I mean, yes, isn't that what you, the ones that were removed, there's some on here that weren't removed where it's listed recommended denial. And so if the motion, this is just so the record is clear, because I can see if the motion is, and it's your motion, so obviously I can't, but I'm just saying for the record, if the motion is recommending approval as discussed, then implicit in that is the ones that you didn't discuss approving, so they have to clarify. That's why I asked before, are we doing this?
Maybe it'd be best to do them one by one then,
It's probably best to do it one by one.
for clarity. So, Mike, can we go through each
Yes.
okay, so
waiver?
So-
given that
Each
there's
of
no
our-
second,
Let's,
the motion is off.
all right, so let's do,
So Mike, go over each waiver, go over what our official, what their recommendation would be, and then they can
Yeah.
vote for approval or denial.
okay, section 46520B, to permit a 1.8-inch diameter orifice in a BMP outlet structure. I take no exception to that. They provided the proper stormwater calcs, there's no issue there.
I recommend approval of this waiver,
I'll
or I
second,
motion
Motion to
approval of
approve.
this
and I'll
waiver.
second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, hold on. Make sure your mics are on.
Section 804D, partial waiver for vertical curbing where they're going to provide curbing at the driveway entrance and along the back of the site, with the exception of the landscape island, due to the impact of trucks.
So this is a partial approval,
It's a partial waiver, yes.
partial waiver.
And it'll be written up as such,
Okay,
as we discussed this evening.
Motion for approval of partial waiver.
and I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
To omit proposed street trees when street trees are required. The applicant's proposing to provide trees, the required number of street trees, just not in Garrett Road. They'll provide them at other locations on the site, or a fee in lieu of, correct? Or, yeah.
So there's three parts. Provide the number of trees, maybe not in the locations that they're needed, or a fee in lieu of. That is our recommendation on that waiver.
That would be a partial.
That would be a
That
partial.
would be a partial.
Okay, I'll make the motion.
To,
Two,
second.
All in favor?
Not in
Aye.
favor.
Okay.
Jim.
So,
Not in favor.
not in
So-
favor, Cassandra?
So
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so then it is,
there was one no.
One,
Against.
no.
one no. For the motion passes. Sorry, that's your job.
So then there's 817E2, which is, or it could be E1, to omit proposed deciduous trees when deciduous trees are required per linear foot of building perimeter. I believe that you can meet that. That's not, don't need that waiver. Okay, 6 we don't need.
So 815 E1, we're
817.
striking. 817
And
E1, we're striking.
817E3, I think that one is, that one you don't need either for the evergreen. Okay,
All right, we'll
good.
strike both of those.
We can work together on that.
Wait, and then, we're not done, Mike.
I got the other waiver letter.
Okay, sorry,
Yeah.
I thought you were wrapping up.
No.
And just, could you say the section numbers, just so for our records?
Sure. Section 300.I, Table 3.1, to permit preliminary and final land development as a single submission.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Section 803.B4, to omit the required right-of-way dedication of Walnut Street and Shelbourne Road.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Section 806.
Sorry, who seconded that? Jeff, okay.
We're having it same every time, so it's easy.
Section 806.
Write the minutes.
.C.7, to permit a radius of curvature less than 5 feet in parking areas where a minimum 5-foot radius of curvature is required.
And what's our recommendation?
That's, we've granted that numerous times
I'll
in the
make the
past.
motion.
Motion
Yeah.
to approve that waiver.
Need a second.
Steve, you want a second?
Oh, sorry, Steve. To permit a radius of curvature less than 5 feet within parking areas when a minimum 5-foot radius of curvature is required.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Section 821.A, to permit the proposed electric service to be an overhead connection when an underground connection is required.
Make a motion to accept.
All in favor? Aye.
Waiver from Section 807, sidewalks, pathways, and crosswalks. This is where the applicant is proposing to upgrade all the sidewalks on Walnut Street and eliminate that depressed curb. They are requesting a deferral for upgrades to any sidewalk on Garrett Road at this time, but I believe they agreed to eliminate any tripping hazards and liabilities.
I'll make the motion to approve. The second. No. Need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
One no.
All right,
And
give me-
Cassandra.
Give me a second.
To Cassandra.
Cassandra?
I actually had a question about that.
Yeah.
How long, what's the timeline for the deferral?
That would have to be worked out with some kind of, I guess, with council or land development agreement. I just think they're looking to defer it at this time and revisit it potentially. Is there a certain time frame? Because you did mention in the beginning of your presentation that you did want to upgrade the sidewalk there.
I plan on it, but I was hoping to see where we end up with the funding for doing that area. 'Cause
Okay.
You know, if they do it, that would be great.
If we give them a deferral, it'll be a note on the plan that it was deferred, but the applicant would be responsible for it at some time in the future. But they would have to also make sure the sidewalk is passable, walkable, no tripping hazards, stuff like that.
Well, is there a timeline for that?
Well, they would have to make sure there's no, in the property owner's best interest, they want to make sure there's no tripping hazards tomorrow.
That didn't answer her question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What is the timeline? Because this can be deferred and deferred for, a century. What is a timeline here?
Yeah,
To make it non-trippable.
She's not gonna hear you.
before
Yeah,
I
talking
get
to the
a
mic.
C of O.
She might not hear you if you don't talk in the mic, just
Oh.
because it's hard to hear when you're online.
We would have to fix any tripping hazards before we get a C of O. The only thing is to replace the whole curb and sidewalk to be deferred.
Okay,
On Garrett.
It would be safe, and it would be safe for the people walking it. Number one, I'm the one that ends up, in the legal system if somebody trips and falls, and we don't want that.
understood.
What's her vote?
So, okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Right?
Aye. And Steve was a no.
So, all right, the other four. Got it.
what did Cassandra say? Was she aye or no?
Cassandra, you were yes?
Yes, yes.
And then just the 30 cubic yard dumpster comment.
So that's added.
And then,
Yeah, what is that in reference to? Is that one of the,
I think that was just the height, that was the one waiver they're not going to ask for because it's going to be 30 cubic yard. And Jim that was just an extra comment. I don't know if it's something they vote on, but it was an extra comment that they wanted to add to the record that they didn't want the dumpsters to be 40 cubic
they
yard.
can add that to the land development, not
Okay.
to the waiver.
Okay,
And we talked about we added the delineation of, or the dedication.
the dedication.
That was in there.
That was in there?
Yes, that was in
Okay.
there, yep. And then regarding, obviously, the circulation, I think you provided an explanation of why you need the circulation to work the way it does. I think you just got to provide some record backup of how it's going to circulate, the
Again,
turning
I think
movements. Yeah,
We're getting into the
yeah,
other.
we're getting into the
So
other part,
Are we
okay.
good with the waivers?
That's the
We
land
can Close the
development, okay.
waivers,
Yes.
Close the
Alright.
waivers.
the recommendations. All right, so we'll make sure that all gets written up as stated.
Yep.
So then let's move, right, I guess maybe any additional comments that would come from the planning commission. Maybe not, Mike, then this is the time for some of those, or from the planning commission members themselves.
I don't have any.
I have none.
I know this is the right time, but have we seen a drawing of what the building is going to look like?
No, but we did ask for an elevation as part of the process.
Yeah, I think before they go to council, they're going to need the elevation and the rendering.
It's always good for council to see an elevation,
Okay.
yeah.
And we really checked that to make sure they're below the height requirement.
Yeah, and they'll say they,
What's it going to look like? That's,
Let me see a rendering. Of what it's gonna look like.
yeah, that's what I was asking.
It's gonna match the building next door, color-wise, the dark gray with the black doors, black lights.
Any other questions or comments? Okay.
Mike, what were your two comments that I asked you to wait until now? 30-yard dumpster.
There was the 30-yard dumpster, and then the circulation. I think you provide a statement to justify why you need the circulation the way it is, the truck turning movement showing they work, where cars are going to enter, where they're not going to enter. When a car enters the site and they first hit the gate, for trucks going in, there's gates right there. How's that operated? Is that just going to be open at certain times when the trucks come in? so they're not blocking traffic. Then we want someone to get out of their truck to open the gate.
It's open, if somebody's there, 7 to
Okay,
All right.
The gate's open all day.
okay. And so there won't be any issues with backups on the roadway.
handicap. We're moving the handicap over.
Moving the handicap.
Right, and
yeah.
that could be a response. So do you guys, then a motion would be something like accepting, right, the comments in the recommend, in the letter, right, as discussed, unless you have any changes to the individual comments that we went over.
No, so motion to accept the comments in your letter, right? That's
Motion to approve.
motion to approve with the comments in your letter.
Motion to recommend.
Motion to recommend.
Okay. Jeff made a motion.
Okay, motion's been first and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And that recommendation is approval with contingent on addressing staff comments, just
Staff
for
comments,
clarity.
correct.
So Jeff, second, all in favor?
It was unanimous, yes.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you
Thank
guys.
you.
Have a good night.
Okay. We don't really have, I mean, it says update on the zoning of the smoke shop draft ordinance, but I know nothing's really happened there over the holiday, so I'm going to suggest we just move on from that. And Josh will. So Josh, we're moving through smoke shop because I know you don't really have an update. So any old business? There's none that I'm aware of. Does anybody have any new business to bring up? So would you like to adjourn? Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.